training.tv. My name is Margaret Carlton. I'll be your broadcast engineer for today. I'm here at the wonderful Todd Geist. Hello, Todd. How are you doing?
Hello, hello. We're back again.
We
Day
are.
three.
We are on day three. We are continuing a really awesome AI discussion. This has been a very long discussion. So, FileMaker 2025/22 released on July 8th. With it has come a host of really amazing features. A lot of these features are focused on AI or were a result of AI. As a result, we are pretty much focusing on helping the community get up to speed with AI because I think most of us have probably not integrated AI into any of their FileMaker solutions, but it's not something that you should be seriously looking at for your customers. And also your customers are probably going to be, as AI gets bigger and bigger, going to be dealing with more and more requests. We're here to help catch you up to speed. We had a week with Wim last week discussing AI and servers from the beginning from that standpoint, and now we're also here with Todd. And Todd has been basically covering the script steps in super detail, which has been awesome. He's been staying with us really long for many hours, which has been awesome
Mhm.
because it's allowed people to get their questions answered. So we are going to be continuing that discussion today. We got a lot of topics to cover. I think with that all being said, I'm inclined to just get this started off pretty much
Okay.
immediately. So, Todd, what are we doing?
Well, we're going to cover a couple more. We've been covering generate response from model a little bit, and we're going to start getting into depth on that because that one's pretty deep, lots of different nuances there. But before we do that, I want to jump in and talk about perform RAG action, which is one of the new script steps as well. And its uses in what we're doing here. And it is pretty powerful. And it kind of, we've been looking at like how to generate responses, and we're going to look at how to get data out of our database. We kind of did a little bit of that with SQL yesterday. And so that's really around structured data. So data that's already structured in tables. And there's ways to fetch it out, like we looked at with SQL queries. And we can also call scripts to get little bits of data back. And we'll look at that a little bit later today. And that's using tool calls and structured data. So what RAG is stands for retrieval augmented generation. And it really is, it kind of spells it out. It's generation, which is what all these models are doing. They are generating text from a body of text, and they kind of figure out, okay, what's the most likely thing that I should say in response to this chunk of text I just got. That's really it. That's what the text generation models do, and that's it. It's kind of. I mean, I think of them a little bit like they function a little bit like your mind in that you've loaded a bunch of state into your brain about like where you are, what you're doing, and sort of what things you might expect next to happen, who you might be talking to, and what they might say, and then you start predicting. Okay, well, what should I say in response to that? And you'll notice sometimes that if you ever sit quietly, I do a lot of meditation. I go on long silent retreats where sometimes we sit 10, 11 hours without talking and just listening to your mind. You'll notice that your mind generates a lot of stuff. You may have noticed that, like you're constantly telling stories to yourself about what you're doing, who made you mad, that kind of thing, why that person's a jerk, or why you like that person, or whatever it is, why you're sad, or get angry, all those things. Your mind is just generating that, right? And so it's a prediction engine, just like these things are. They basically, your mind takes the state of the world and all of its past history and all of its context, which is your entire life stored in memories, and it just says, what should I think up next? And if you notice, most of the things that it thinks up, you don't actually say, right? Because if you did, everybody would think you're nuts, right? In fact, some people think that might be what, the people who walk in, sometimes you see people with, they might have some mental issues or on the street or something, and they're just talking to themselves. Some theories are they're just basically saying whatever their mind is generating, right? So that's what these things are. And so I think it helps to have that like in your brain that that's really what they're doing. So, you are basically giving it a bunch of data, like your mind has a bunch of state in it, your memories, and you're giving it some rules so that it doesn't just spit out everything that it thinks up and hallucinate, but that it starts to give you things that are actually valuable. So in the case of retrieval augmented generation, it's kind of like memory. So in the case of when somebody asks you a question, your mind just automatically scans back through all the memories you might have about that particular topic, and it pulls that into your short-term memory, and your mind just says, well, I should say this, and so out it comes, right? That is what retrieval augmented generation is. And in the case of where it's commonly used, it's typically around the idea of vector databases, where you take text and you encode it in these vectors, which are multidimensional arrays. And then there's math that you can perform on that basically says, kind of like when somebody asks you a question about baseball players, your mind just pulls all the memories that have anything related to do with baseball into your short-term memory. And that's what these vector queries are doing, right? So it's doing very much the same thing. It pulls everything related to the prompt that you've given it into memory, into the context, so it can be used to generate that response. And it's not like doing a find in FileMaker. This is semantic search. This is meaning. So it knows it isn't just synonyms. It's like it can actually tell the meaning of the text that you're putting into it, and it can look for things that mean similar things and pull all those in. That's how it works. So in terms of, let me share my screen and we'll cover a little diagram here, and then we'll dive into what that looks like in FileMaker.
Mm-hmm.
So here's our Excalidraw. So we're going to perform rag action. Let's look at how that works in FileMaker here. There's a couple of script steps. Well, there's actually one script step that has 3 actions. It's got add, remove, and send prompt. And let's look at what each of these does. So add is basically taking a text string, a file on your disk, or a container field, and sending it to a RAG service, it's often called, but it's really in the back end a vector database. And that's a term, if you've followed AI at all, you've heard this. It's a vector DB. And you've also probably heard that the Claris AI server has a RAG service, and it does, and that has a vector database in it that manages all this stuff. And so what happens is that file, it's gonna only handle text eventually. So if it's a PDF, it's gonna scrape the PDF data out of that, and then it's going to vectorize it or turn it into this multi-dimensional array of numbers, which represents the meaning of that text. And it does some things called chunking, which we'll look at a little bit. I'm not going to get into the deep, heavy math on this stuff because it's really heavy, and frankly, I don't understand it. I know I've got a mental model which lets me kind of work with this stuff, and that's what I'm going to try to give to you, is sort of the high level mental model that at least I use to work with these things. So there's the Claris AI server, which we have said, be careful running this on your production server. For the text embeddings, those are using small models. There's 2 parts of RAG. There's embeddings, which uses models that are called text embedding models. And I think Wim covered this stuff in great detail last week, so I'm not going to get into it. But those text embedding models are much smaller than the completion models, or the generation models that we've been talking about for the rest of this week. The RAG stuff in FileMaker uses both. It uses the text embedding models to actually embed that stuff and to actually make the vectors, to compute the vectors. And it uses the chat completion models to generate the responses based on the stuff that comes back. So here's what happens. You send a prompt. I'm sorry. Start with, we've got a bunch of documents. Oh, and by the way, so we talked about the tools and querying the database. That's structured data. That's in database tables. It's got names for fields. It's got names for tables. So it's structured. And the LLMs can search that stuff pretty well. RAG, this stuff is used for unstructured data, basically text. Big giant blobs of text. You can also do images, and we're not going to cover that, but images do the same thing. You can actually throw images at this thing, and it makes a math version. It makes a number version of images, and then you can actually put another image and say, give me all the images that are like that one that I have in my database, and it can do that. We are not going to talk about images. We're talking about text here, but this is the model is approximately the same here. We add. That's going to send that text document or that file up to the server, either the Claris AI server or some other RAG service. We have one, automatic RAG, that you can get from us. It does not run on your FileMaker server. It runs in the cloud. And what that's going to do is it's going to turn those into chunks, break it up into smaller pieces, and vectorize it, which makes it highly searchable in the way we've been talking about. You can also remove those documents as well. There's some nuances to that. If we have some time, we'll get into it. But basically, you can take things out that you put in, right? So those make sense. Add a document, delete a document. Then the other one is send prompt, and that's the big one here. When you want to send a prompt, which is basically now I want to ask a question that is probably answered somewhere in these many, many documents that I've uploaded to the server. So what happens then? We take the user's question, we take the prompt, the system prompt that we've been talking about, the other stuff, and we'll look at that in detail in a second here. We send it to the RAG service or the Claris AI server, and it's going to search and pull back all the chunks of the documents that it feels are relevant to what you asked about and the prompt that it got. I think the Claris AI server will give you the top 20 chunks, and ours gives you the top 10. It's just a like different choice, but it's really the same thing. And that is called context. So that is the context that comes back. The FileMaker script step, the perform RAG action with send prompt, is then going to take that user question, the prompt, and the context and send it all up to the LLM, back to the model, and the model is then going to generate a response based on all that stuff, right? So the big flag here is your data is going to the model.
Okay.
Need to know that, right? So any questions on that so far? Anything in Discord? Any questions you got there?
I'm gonna say this out loud to make sure I understand it. So basically, you send the documents up to the Claris AI server automatic RAG.
Yep.
You send the prompt to that chunk, and it gets the citations essentially of what it thinks will relate to the answer, and then that's sent back to you. But that's not the answer. That information is then sent to an LLM, and it processes out the most likely answer.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I'll just the slight nuance there is it's not really a citation, although you often want that, and we'll look at that when we get into the example here. It's going to just give you the chunks of text back.
Okay.
And we'll actually we won't see the text of chunk because we don't. Claris does not have a way to just look at this. Well, we might be able to prompt it just to get the context back, but by default you don't see the context.
Got it.
You just see the answer that comes back here at the end, right?
Got it. Okay.
Okay. We are grooving along.
Yes.
What else? Anything else to say?
Do I need to have a text embedding model to use RAG?
You do. If you're going to use the Claris AI server, you'll have to install a text embedding model on there. If you're using a cloud service like ours to do RAG, then you don't. Now, there are lots of RAG services out there. Most of them probably will not be compatible by default to the FileMaker script steps. Unlike the generate response from model is compatible to many, many, many providers, at least mostly compatible, and eventually it will be. You do, it's not clear to me how many providers are going to have APIs that are compatible with that script step. It doesn't mean that you can't use them with FileMaker. And this is something I didn't really make the point of before, but almost everything we've shown that we've shown with all these script steps, you can do with insert from URL. It's just harder because you have to figure out how to format all the stuff in JSON and send it to the API. And it's what Claris is doing with these script steps is kind of smoothing that over to make that easier. So you can use any AI model out there if it has an API, and they all do. You can write, if you want to write those insert from URL script step calls yourself, you can do that. With the exception of when you want streaming. The insert from URL does not do streaming, so you don't get that, but you get everything else. Groovy?
Yep.
Okay.
Making sense.
Let's see here. So I want to go to, where do I want to start? I want to start on, which layout is it? What have I, where's my, is this set up properly? It's the right file, rag. It is. Okay. No. Yes, it is. Okay. Here we go. All right. So what I have here is actually, I want to start with, no, I want to start with, yes, I guess I do want to start here. I do want to start here. So what I have here is all of the forum posts from community.automatic.cloud.
Ooh.
All right, so that's everything that I exported, all 843 topics that have ever been posted to the forum, including all of the messages that are in there. I exported all those to text files, and then I imported them into a FileMaker table here. And so these are all the posts and all the content from all the posts. So you can see the thread, right? So we can, scroll through all that stuff, right? So this is a nice use case for this because I want to basically answer questions. I want to be able to do some to provide some kind of a chat or some kind of way for people to ask questions and get back answers from the forum without using regular forum search, which is just going to do keywords and your standard finding, which is not going to be as good as semantic. And then also, this is going to summarize those results. So now, if you've done Google searches recently, at the top of the page you get those summarized results, right?
Yes.
And so that's what we're going for here. Is can we create an answer thing that can give us a summary, can give us basically the steps to do to solve our problem, rather than just like looking through old forum posts. It should actually hopefully be able to intelligently answer our question, right? So I've got all those, and I should say this is very naive. Like if you're going to do this well, you probably need to curate these posts because a lot of them are probably not good. So we're not going to go into that, but you can use AI to label these and figure out whether or not they're good or not. You can filter them down to only high quality posts and then only load those into your space, into your vector space where you're going to ask these questions. But I haven't done that. So, we're just doing something very naive here and we'll see how accurate it is and what that is. But it should give you an idea of how this works. So, any questions so far?
Yes, but I think why do you want to use RAG and not fine tuning to do this?
So fine tuning is that is a different way that is something you can do. Fine tuning is a process where you basically bake that context into the model itself. That is you really have to be very good about the labeling in that case. Like basically, questions and answers have to be high quality. And then you basically have to fine tune or train the model, which you can do with the Claris AI server and with all of the model providers allow you to take like GPT-4.1 and train it on a predefined set of answers. You can probably do a Google search to compare fine tuning versus RAG and see what you find there to tell the differences between those. My guess is that fine tuning is probably going to be more expensive, but I don't know. And
Well,
you're
doesn't
going to
it?
have to basically do it over and over again anytime you get more content. What I would recommend is either use like ChatGPT's deep research or Claude deep research and ask the question, when should I use fine tuning versus RAG to improve the responses from my, what use cases will determine which one of those I I
Yes.
am
And
not covering fine tuning. Honestly haven't explored it very much. So I really don't feel qualified to answer a lot of questions on that.
I will say Wim talked about it in detail, I think on day 3,
Good.
about the requirements for it. And the requirements are expensive and hefty. Like you need to have a Mac to do it. So
Yeah, you're definitely going to need serious hardware to do fine tuning. That's one thing. Or you're going to fine tune a model from OpenAI or somebody, which you can do. You can actually, you basically fine tune it so then you get your own version of the model essentially.
Hmm.
Um, and, um, and you can do that. And that might be the way I have to deal with my VibeX thing. Like I might have to fine tune the model to actually answer FileMaker coding questions better than it's doing. I don't think RAG will solve those kinds of problems. But again, something I don't really
Yeah, a pin
don't
for
really
a
have a good lot of experience with.
and then the last question I want to hand to you is what does RAG mean? Do you want to like write out real
Yeah, so
fast on the
RAG, I
thing?
think I wrote it out here on the screen here. It really means retrieval augmented generation. So basically, retrieving a bunch of data. Did I spell that wrong? Yes, I did. Retrieving a bunch of data and using that to augment the text generation that you're getting back. That's what it means. That's RAG.
There you go.
And so that's why, looking back at our model here, that's why we have to do this part, right? With automatic RAG, you can actually just get the context back very easily. You can get those records, just the data, and not send it back to another round of LLM. So there are use cases where that might be useful, but most of the time for the kinds of things where we want to get answers on say knowledge bases, right? You're going to want to do RAG. That is, I think, the way you're going to do it.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
There you go.
Anything else?
Nope, you're good to go.
Okay, let's take a look at the script step here. So the script step is perform RAG action. Like the other ones, let me make this bigger. We get it all in one line here, maybe. Yes, we can. We've got a RAG account, which um, is this guy. Configure RAG account. You give it a space name, an endpoint. Actually, so this is using FileMaker's AI um, server for this, and you get your API key, right? And so load doc. So we configure that, and this is using Claris, the Claris AI server, and then we perform our RAG action. In this case, I'm going to use the from text, and it is going to, you've got other options here. You can do from a file path or from a container, and you can do async or wait for response. Basically, just like PSOS, wait for response or not, same thing, right? You can just throw the file up there and move on, and that can be useful if you got a lot of documents to load from a file system or from containers. You can just loop through and the Claris AI server will process those in a queue, and most of the RAG servers will do that, right? In this case, keep it simple, we're just going to use the text content. We're just going to upload it. All right. And so I want to check yes. Okay. So let's just upload. Let's just go ahead and do this. It's pretty simple, very simple here. Yeah, I'm just going to configure that and we run the script step. No errors. Yay. The other thing is it doesn't give you any response. Either error or not is success. That's it.
Ah,
So there's no IDs that come back. I should say that when you use files or containers with file names, if you send files that have the same name or containers that have a file with the same name,
mm-hmm.
they overwrite pre-existing stuff, right?
Oh, so you don't get an option to choose to not overwrite, it just overwrites?
If you want to overwrite, if you want to upload files and they might have the same file name, you're going to need to make sure that they have unique file names before you do that.
Got it.
Okay? It's useful that we have this because you might want to update a document later, the
Mm-hmm.
same document, and so that makes it easy to do. You just upload the document again with the same name, and it will overwrite the stuff that's there.
Got it.
Okay, so we uploaded it. How do we know we uploaded it? That's a good question. The answer is we have a function called get brag space Oh, see, it commented out. I hate when it does this. I just wanted it not to evaluate, and it went and escaped all of my things. But so what I've done, I know what I didn't cover one thing. Let me go back here. I forgot to mention space ID. So you can create space IDs. These are, you can think of these as, I mean, in other systems, they're called collections. You could also
Hmm.
think of them as tables. So these are unique tables that have a group of documents which are related by whatever you might choose to organize them by. It might be
Okay.
by document type, it might be by customer, it might be by whatever. In this case, my space ID is just RCC demo because that's really all I'm doing right now. And so that space ID and that account name come in handy when I want to see what's in there. And so here is what is in there. It gives you back this nice formatted block of text. So if you notice, it has, so it's got the rag space ID. It tells you the model that was used to text embed it, and it tells you the number of entries. I only send one document, so why are there 9? The reason is because the Claris AI server and all RAG servers have some logic by which they chunk up the document into overlapping chunks, actually, so that related content is kind of together. So when you're searching for meaning, you're going to find the content that you want. And there's a whole, if you want to deep dive on that, do a Google search, Gemini search, Claude Deep Research, whatever you want to do to learn about chunking for RAG, and you'll get far better explanation than I can give you right now. But so this guy turned into 9 chunks of text. It basically broke that all up into 9 chunks. And
Okay.
then each of those chunks is vectorized.
Got it. And if you re-upload it again, it would replace all 9 chunks.
In this case, no, because I'm not using a file. So it doesn't know a file name. I'm just using text,
Oh,
right?
okay. Got it.
So this is only, that was only in the case of when you're uploading files or containers, that is true.
Got it. That makes
A little bit
sense.
weird. There's a little bit rough edge there. I think it's kind of weird. I would like to be able to give this guy an ID. It does have an ID, which is ID 1 for the whole document because it's the first one in there. But
Mm-hmm.
um, it doesn't come back when I uploaded this. There's no ID 1 that comes back. So I can't store this on the record and say, come back and update that later. It's a little weird, I grant you, but that's the way it is right now. So that ID is so when you look at this, we can see what's up there. And if we want to remove this document, we can use delete doc, and that is same basic thing, except we use remove data. And then in the parameters, we pass in a JSON parameter, which if you look at this down here, it's just ID with an array of 1. So you could actually do a whole slew of IDs here at one time, and it would remove all of them. In this case, I've just got the 1, right? And when I do this, when I run this script step, it's going to remove it from the space. And if I look at the data viewer, it's going to, this is a weird thing. So this is actually, seems to me be a bug, but it's important to know that since I removed all of the documents that I uploaded, it gives this error. It says the rag space is not found. That's not actually true. It's
Okay.
still there. It still works, but there's no content in it. So I think this is a bug in the Claris AI server. I believe we've already reported it. It should just show nothing. It should show an empty array of there's nothing up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's showing not found currently, rag space error. If I upload it again, it'll go back. I could upload a bunch of these, blah blah blah, and we could upload the whole set. If I tried to upload the whole set in this demo, it would take about 3.5 hours. So I'm not going to do that, but we can certainly upload another document and take a look at that here. And here's a shorter document. We only got 4, right?
Got it. Okay, that makes
Right.
sense.
So you would upload everything you want to ask a question about into a space.
Okay.
And then We're going to switch off that one and we're going to go to this guy right here. And let's look at this guy. This is going to, so this is using another space. Actually, it's using our automatic rag server, but it's the same basic thing. And this has all of my documents uploaded in it already. So if we go and look at data viewer and I change this to, hang on, it's, it's this guy, rag space automatic, and account is automatic, and rag is, I think it's auto community. Yeah. So if I put those in here, come here, you, whoops, I can't. What am I doing? It takes a little bit. It has to download a lot of data. So in this case, it's automatic is our account. And over here, it is, I think it's auto community.
Yes, that sounds correct.
Unity.
I think there's another M, right? Or no?
It told me there was an error too. Auto community, but it also gave me, what am I missing? Where is that from? Anybody see a bug there? I don't see a bug. Do you guys?
No, it looks like a regular string. Paste again. The brackets are correct, right? They're both. Yeah.
What am I missing? It's just a function. Okay. Oh, no, that should all work. Hang on a second. There's only one file. Oh, it's possible that I'm getting an error because I haven't run the automatic rag account yet. That would be weird, but maybe that's the bug. Maybe that's the issue. So we go back and do automatic. And in this case, it should, yes, this is correct. And then, but the one I want to use is auto community.
Community, yeah.
So this is all the data. Boom, 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 right? Okay. So it's all up there. Actually, let me delete this. Otherwise, we'll be sitting here waiting for this thing to reload all the time. We'll delete it. Okay. So what do we do there? So this is a fun one. This is now how we prompt this bad boy. So we're going to answer the question. So again, we configure OpenAI. So because we're using OpenAI to actually process the prompt, we need to configure the OpenAI account as well. Then we get our question from this field here. And then I just clear the RAG answer in case there was an answer in the result already. I pause just 0.5 seconds so we can see this field update. And then we're going to I put it a variable, auto community, configure the RAG account with our automatic endpoint and the API key for automatic API key for that account. And then I'm going to write a prompt here. And so this is one of those. So I'm going to do the configure prompt template. And instead of doing you know how I remember I showed you it was really ugly when you just use the default. So I busted out the default and I put it in here. And then I did something else that's really, really, really useful. Let's see if I can pull it up here real quick. I basically wrote my prompt, and I like to use, as I showed you yesterday, insert text because this is just, I don't have to escape anything. It's really easy to type. Everything works. Like this is the best way to put text in a FileMaker variable, where because it's not a calculation, right? So, but I also took the whole thing and I took it over to Claude, and I said, "Hey, Claude, here's a prompt I'm using to do RAG on a vectorized set of support forum posts." And so this was the prompt. And then I said, these strings are replaced when the prompt is sent to the model. I'd like you to improve the prompt if you can. If you think the prompt is good enough, that's fine. Only suggest improvements that have a strong likelihood of improving the results. Go. And then it says, it came back as it's quite solid already, one thing that's really important to know about AIs is they're way too nice to you. You need to tell them to like be critical, and to not like, not like blow smoke as so to be or whatever. Don't kiss up to you because they will. Um, it's actually one of the challenges that they're having. Like they've tried to make them meaner and they get really mean. Like it's like kind of this hard thing to do to get it to balance where they're not overly nice and they're not overly mean. And every model's a little different. Every time they come up with a new version, it's a little less nice or a little more nice than the previous version. Um, so I always try to say like, I'd like you to improve the prompt if you can. Like, don't just make stuff up. Don't. I should have said like, don't tell me how great I am because it still says, "Yay, it's pretty good," but then it gives me some improvements, right? And so
Yes.
this is actually pretty good. It tells you why it's better, right? And then I said, "Oh, by the way, I want you to respond in Markdown. What's the best way to enforce that?" It says, "Here's how you respond in Markdown," and it gives me the model. And then I went a little further and I did a couple rounds on that to get it to handle the response the way that I want. It does a really good job. So you can ask the LLMs, ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, to help you write a really good prompt. Describe what you're doing, tell it kind of what you're trying to enforce, and it will structure it really well for LLMs, right? So
Makes
that's what I did.
sense.
Then we configure the prompt template where I'm just passing that value in here and then perform RAG action, automatic, space ID, send prompt, question, and then the AI account name, the model. The streaming is on. Prompt template is RAG, which is set up here. Response target is response there. So I know this. We'll start with this question. I know it works, so let's just go ahead and hit it. And we're going to see it's going to stream in here in a second with a response. So it is now, this is the data streaming back in,
Mm-hmm.
and it's writing it to the text field, the target. And so that's kind of cool, right?
Yes.
And it gives me a bunch of things to try. Every time you ask this question, you're going to get slightly different answers. And if we have time, maybe we'll come back and talk about how you can control for that a bit. But hopefully it's every time giving you a pretty good answer. And this is part of, again, like we have to fine tune the data that's in this vector. Like we should get rid of anything that's bad information. And then also working on our prompt to make sure it gives better and better responses. But this is pretty good. And it actually, because I prompted it, because in the data, if we remember looking at the data, it has the topic ID is in the data, right? So part of my prompting, and the topic ID is also in the, it's in the, it's actually, so there's a long form of the URLs in the community and a short form. You really don't need this whole middle section here. You can get rid of all of this. And that is so for topic 1392, that's the thread. Now, if I hit that, it's just going to load it, right? So there's a very simple rule that I can teach the model to look for the topic ID, grab the topic ID, and construct a URL back to the original resource. And so that's what it's doing here. If I look at this, here's a URL.
Ah.
Right? So, and we're going to look at how we can make this even nicer in a second, but we can put that in there and look at and there's the actual thing. So you can verify what's happening, right?
Yes.
Cool.
This is
So,
very cool. The fact also
so
it's telling you where it got the information so you can go
yes,
look at it
that's
yourself is
important.
really nice.
Yes. So if we look at how I did that, I said, when you see, topic and then this in the context, include a citation using HTML format. And I just told it what it should look like, and make sure you target it blank because I want it to open in a new page and then view the original topic or do whatever. And then all links must be HTML anchor tags, blah, 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 blah. And the reason is because if you want inside of Markdown, if you want to open another page, you actually have to use a regular HTML link inside of Markdown to do that. But I prompted that to do this. And so this is valid Markdown. LLMs are very, very good at Markdown. It is one of the best formats to use. They understand it really well and they can produce it really well because it's structured and it makes sense. It has semantic layers to it with like with H1, H2 tags and all that. Like it can figure out the importance and order and all that stuff from the document. And it can do checklists and all that stuff. That's pretty cool. Now, however, it's not a great look for like this is hard to read. So what I did is I created a quick and easy little markdown viewer
And now all
that
the actual formatting is going to come through.
should have already come through. Why did it not? Well, that's going to bum me out.
Do you need to reload it or something?
Oh, I do. Thank you. That's very good. So, and I'll tell you how I did this too, because this is interesting. I really love insert from URL. I mean, insert text.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is. So Markdown Viewer HTML, right? This is it, all in there. Now here's an awesome new thing that came with the latest version of FileMaker. This script step can take, I think, 250 million characters.
Whoo!
Previous versions of FileMaker, that was limited to 32,000 characters.
About to say, wasn't that like only 32,000? Okay, I was
That's
like,
right.
that wasn't the 30,000 one, right? They put it up to 250 million? Nice.
And so why did they do that, do you think, in this version?
I don't know, Todd. Why did they?
Because this is a great way to get HTML into your system. You don't have to put it in a field, and then it won't. If you put it in a field and you clone your table, if you put it in a table and you clone your file, it disappears, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you could put massive web pages in an insert text script step, and they'll take it no problem. And so, how might people be coming up with Markdown viewers? Well, guess what? Claude, our beautiful little Claude, or any other vibe coding thing you want to do. I need an HTML page with simple Markdown viewer in it. Can reference dependencies from a CDN. So I'm basically saying it's okay if you load stuff off the internet, but I need HTML. I need generate clean, concise HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I've got a couple different versions in here, but the one that I'm using in this case is basically this. And if I look at the code, there it is. I can copy this. I can come in here. I can come into my script step, go in here, paste, boom, done. Right?
Nice.
So now if you want to vibe code up little bits of HTML or charts or whatever you want to do and have them and just be able to copy them out of Claude and paste them into your FileMaker system, insert text is a great way to do that.
Nice. Okay,
Nice.
that's awesome. Yes, that's
I should
very
see there should be a ton of cheers in the Discord channel.
This is very
right now,
cool.
because that is super sweet. Super sweet.
You can do so much with that.
Yes. So
Speaking
you have
of
to
so
run
much
that.
of it.
And then hopefully there we go.
There we go. Yep.
And so now
Look
I
at
can
how
click
nice
on
that
these,
looks. Oh, it links. Of course it does. It's Markdown.
and then of
but
course
still.
it just opens it, right? So any link. Right? So
That's
beautiful.
awesome.
Right?
Someone's asking where the confetti is, Todd.
Yeah, I know, I need confetti. So let's do here's another common one we get. I can't add my FileMaker. Let's do this. I can't add my FileMaker server to auto deploy. What should I do? Now, why is it not working? I can tell you. In this one, I don't think there's any documentation on this. There might be, but the reason it didn't work is
Mm-hmm.
because we still have streaming on. And if you have streaming on, the target must be on the layout and visible. So it didn't work.
Oh. Oh,
And
okay. So if you have the streaming swatched on, like the
I
actual
need to have
field
this
has to be
field
on.
somewhere.
Okay.
So now it had nothing to stream into. So the response didn't come down. And that's why that didn't
Interesting.
work.
What
And
if it's off the
this one
layout?
took me like a whole afternoon to figure out. If you have streaming off here, you don't need this on the layout.
Okay.
And now if we ask the question again, it should, when it's all done, it should pop in our should have uh turned it off. I did not save the script step. Let's try that.
And
Still running.
it's processing.
Yep, it's gotta do work to get that stuff. Now it's going back to the model to generate the response. And then there it is. Boom.
There we go. Quick question about the field being on the layout. What if it's in the
Yes.
little weird void space where it's both
Doesn't
on
work.
the layout? Okay.
It's got to be visible.
Got it. Okay.
So there's a few other cases where you need a field on the layout, you know. Um where you need to have the field on the layout for your script step to work. This
Mm-hmm.
is one of them.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh, we have a question. Can
Sure.
you use the RAG functions with an external provider like OpenAI? Example, store files in an OpenAI assistant and then use the fmrag functions to access them.
I don't think so. It has to be compatible with the Claris AI server. And I don't actually know what, Wim would probably could have answered that question. I don't, it's not clear to me how much of the Claris AI server is very unique to the Claris RAG service, or whether that's a standard RAG API. I don't have the answer to that question. So don't know.
What if you hide the field behind the web viewer? Does that still count as being on the layout?
It does, but it doesn't matter in this case. I think it'll work fine, but you might get some weird interactions and you might get some weird interactions. And the weird thing about the generate response, this one I just learned today, the other thing I learned today, there's no perform JavaScript in WebViewer here, and there should be. I'm going to this, hopefully it's just something that didn't get into the latest version, but we really need because if you look at we look at the generate response from model, it has this doohickey here. And with that, I can stream into the web viewer. I can't stream into the web viewer here, unfortunately, so it's going to wait till the whole thing is done. And then, so there's not really an advantage to streaming in this case. Hope that makes sense.
That does make sense. Cool. Yeah, because like I said, if the web's going to load in the web viewer anyway, then you're stuck waiting. So I don't
Yeah,
see any other questions for the moment. So
awesome. So I think this is cool because, you could start building your own personal knowledge bases and you could start to give yourself your own little tools or your company tools to be able to get smart chat. I think that's kind of cool. We're going to try to ship something with for Auto FMS that will search the community, that will do this community stuff, but also search the websites. Also, the other thing that's when all this stuff first started happening, the chats couldn't search the web, like ChatGPT
mm-hmm.
and they couldn't search the web. They can now search the web,
Oh,
and we can
okay.
write tools that can search the web. So, you can, if you prompt, even here, like I haven't tried this yet, but I believe that with ChatGPT has built-in tools, or GPT models have built-in tools to search the web. And I think we could actually try it. I don't know if it'll work, but maybe we'll try that. Where it can actually, when you call a model, it'll search the web um, and send you back that response. But anyway, any more questions on RAG?
Uh, I don't see any. There's a question about a hidden slide control, but I assume that'd be the same thing as hiding it in a web viewer, the field if you want the streaming.
I think the problem with streaming is it actually activates the field, right? So it actually puts a cursor in there and starts typing.
Which is
So
how it gets that effect, yeah.
yeah, that's how it does it. So it's just like when you activate any field, doesn't it pop right through and show up? I think it does, or at least I think it would do it on the web viewer for sure. Um,
Yeah, I'm pretty
so
sure that that will happen. So yeah, I don't
I mean,
think
we
there's
could
really
try it. We could see what happens here.
adventures.
Let's see. So we'll put our answer field on here. We'll get rid of this and we'll move this to the front. So I don't even think, can you move it to the front? It is to the front. It doesn't have a fill, so it's showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what happens. Let's do uh let's see. What's another good question to ask? Can I use FileMaker's default SSL cert with auto FMS? Okay, let's see. Oh, I didn't stream.
Oh,
So we're not doing a good there it goes. It streams anyway.
okay.
So yeah,
And it
it
yeah, it
just
pulls
pulls
it
it right to
right
the
to the
front.
front. Yep,
Yeah.
okay. Makes
And then
sense.
and then when it's done, it's gonna interesting. It looks like it did 2 rounds.
Huh.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it
because
actually
it
did a couple
okay.
rounds there.
Okay.
Yeah. At least that's what it looked like to me.
Oh, that's absolutely what it looked like. It completed and then it cleared it and then it re-entered again. Okay.
Yeah, so it may be doing a check here when it comes back and it gets this, it may like do another evaluation. Does the answer that I got back from the LLM answer the original user's question? And maybe it said no and it generated another one or get some feedback or something. But so then it generated this response. And so you saw the field comes to the front. So,
Got it.
oh, I did have streaming on. So yeah,
Okay.
there we go.
I have a
That's what happened.
question about the space IDs. Uh,
Yes.
where do you designate those? Is that designated in auto or on the FM server
You
or?
designate them on the FM server or the RAG service. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, got it. So, cool. Okay, that makes
And
sense.
an API key is good for on the Claris AI server.
Mm-hmm.
The API key is good for a space only. For our service, you can
Mm-hmm.
create multiple spaces with a single API key.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, same kind of idea.
Uh,
Okay.
people are wanting the file, but I assume you'll share all that when we're all done. So,
Yeah, I can share this one easily. I'll just remove the API keys. Um,
there you
okay.
go.
What else?
I think we're good. I mean, it's 1:54 already, but we're good. I don't
Okay.
see any rather rag questions. So,
All right. Let's dive into a deep dive on uh generate response from model. Let's get deep
mm-hmm.
on it.
Okay.
So here we have a tool I use. I think I explained some of this yesterday. It basically does a chat sort of in one script. Um, and we looked at some of this stuff yesterday, but you can do anything like, tell me a story about uh, a FileMaker developer named Richard. And he is very loud. So it's gonna because I've got streaming on, it's gonna stream it in here. uncontainable enthusiasm, booming laugh. Really, right? Does Richard not have a booming laugh?
Yeah, I
This
know.
this
I
model,
inherited it.
you did. You both did. This model was clearly trained on the Carlton family.
Oh, that's funny. No, I'm
Yeah.
good, Cat. Don't worry, I'm not dying. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
That's how
So,
FileMaker magic is done. Sorry.
yeah.
Okay, we're good.
Richard swept into the server room, his voice cutting through the anxious murmurs like a foghorn through mist. Looks like we've got ourselves a sticky record, he announced, eyes twinkling behind thick rimmed glasses. Let me not that. Yeah. First, we check user permissions, blah, 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 right? So what you noticed happened there is um, add a section about he is he is also a helicopter pilot. Include that, right? So I'm not spelling helicopter right. Hello, two L's.
Heli.
ELI, helicopter.
Yes. But you say it like helicopter. English is wonderful.
So what we're going to see is it's going to come up with a new end in response. So response is going to be its final response, and that's going to stream in. And then when it's done, it's going to add it to our messages queue, right? So we see, right, once upon a time, it's redoing the entire thing. It's generating a whole
Mm-hmm.
new story. And so it's now going to do that. And also realize that it sent all these messages. We're going to look at how this is done, along with my thing. Like, so it sent all of this, right? This all got sent, and then it came back with this, right? This
Yes.
part. When everyone in town, the distant thump, thump, thump of chopper blades and a voice rolling in on the wind, they'd say, "Here comes Richard, FileMaker's loudest, proudest pilot." He will never miss a live stream when I'm on ever again.
No.
He will
Whew.
never do it.
Whew.
Yes. He will live happily ever after with the sky as his office ceiling and the world as his script to rewrite. Oh, the end. Beautiful, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is essentially the components of a chat, right? We've got our message stream over here, and it is just building up the message as we go along. We're not including tool calls. We'll get to that maybe near, I don't know, before we sign off for the day. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. We'll get
Mm-hmm.
into it a little bit more today, and then maybe tomorrow we'll dive deep into tool calls and we'll write some tools in scripts and things like that. But let's get into all the nuances of the script step because there are many. Um, So what I did and why I think this file is useful is I put everything on checkboxes and like I spelled everything out here so I didn't have to think about like how to configure these script steps because they're actually kind of hard to manage. So I basically put everything into variables and then I
Mm-hmm.
just set those variables wherever I could. The problem is I had to do 4 versions because 2 of these um, stream and agentic mode don't have specifiers. They're just check boxes,
Okay.
which is kind of unfortunate. Like if I could just have passed in true or false, then I would only need 1 of these, but I had to do 4 so that
Oh,
I could turn stream on and then agentic on or agentic off, right? And then, basically by checking and unchecking these boxes,
okay.
right? So that's all this is just making it so that I don't have to configure um, I don't have to come in and change this to try different things. I can
Mm-hmm.
just check and uncheck boxes and see the different results,
Got it.
right?
Okay.
So let's clear this out and make a new one here. So we just say like, how are you today? And if I have streaming on, let's turn agentic off. We don't really care about that now. And if I turn streaming on, we know it's going to stream my response in, boom, done, very fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I turn streaming off and I say, um, come on, you can tell me more about what you are up to than that. All right. And now when we send, since streaming is off, we're not going to see it streaming. It's all going to appear at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So boom. Now it's processing, 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 boom, and then it's done. All right, you got me, it says. Now, I feel like I do need to point this stuff out in case people do not have a lot of experience with any of these things.
Mm-hmm.
These things hallucinate, and they're basically telling you what they think you want them to say. I mention this because you can get led astray very easily if you're not aware of this behavior. And in fact, there's actually been a lot of reports about people who may have uh, some kind of cognitive problems
Mm-hmm.
getting really, really twisted up by these things, because if you're not aware that they're basically just telling you what it thinks you want them to say, they might think that these things become conscious. They might think that that they've discovered like the keys to the universe and all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and they'll confirm basically whatever you tell them.
Mm-hmm.
And people have gotten, like, I'm not making this up. This is really happening. People have ended up in the hospital with like kind of almost with mental breakdowns that have come on by just spending way too much time with these models and just talking to them, and then beginning to believe that maybe they're actually sentient beings, or that maybe you're really learning some incredible secrets that nobody else has ever figured out.
Mm-hmm.
That is happening. It really is. You can look it up.
Yep.
And so just be aware that, I basically said, come on, you can tell me. All right, you got me is what it says back. That does not mean that ChatGPT 4.1 is conscious. Okay. There's
No.
no you got me there. It is just inventing that for you.
Yes.
Okay.
I will say that I think Wim on day 3 had a really good breakdown of how does it give you these answers. He talks about the pattern recognition it does to give you a better understanding. That's just a very elaborate mathematical
Yes.
algorithm.
It
So.
is very elaborate way of telling you what it thinks you want to hear back.
Hmm.
And so you really need to know that. Otherwise, you might get fooled. And if for some people who have like, I know it's been happening to people that particularly that have like severe bipolar disorder and things like that,
Yes. No. I
really
know.
can be challenging.
Hmm.
Really can be challenging. So anyway, brief aside, be careful. So let's look at this message structure because this is kind of important. So this was the first question I asked, and the content, hello, how are you today? Role user. So that's me putting the prompt. And then it says, thank you for asking, role assistant. So this is the chat coming back and saying, assistant's response is this content. And then then role user, come on, you can tell me, blah, blah, blah. Role user, right, great. So you see it as a pattern of user role and then assistant role, user role, assistant role, right? That is how you build up context in a conversational chat. What we've been doing up to now is just basically one-shotting everything. There's no
Hmm.
memory, right? So in this case, in this messages field, we are building up a memory of what has been said previously in the conversation, and we're adding the new prompt to it every time we send the new prompt, right?
Okay, that makes sense. Is there a limit to how much context you can give it? Like,
Yes, and that depends on every model's different. Smaller models have smaller windows. They're measured in tokens,
hmm.
and they'll go anywhere from a few thousand, tens of thousands to, I think the biggest ones have close to 2 million tokens now. At least one and a half. I think one of the Gemini models have like a million
Hmm.
and a half or 2 million tokens. So part of what you have to do when you're building these kinds of things is you have to manage the memory. You don't want to go on for too long.
Hmm.
FileMaker has a sort of built-in way of dealing with that, that you can come up with just sort of basically say only keep the last 10 messages or whatever. And that's
Hmm.
what this is here. So I've set it to 20. And so it is only going to keep the last 20 messages, and it's going to drop off the ones before it, right?
Got it. Okay, that makes
So,
sense.
and we can maybe experiment with that, but let's look at how all that's done. So this is all just collecting instructions, messages to keep. That's that 20 there. Messages to keep. We'll talk about parameters later. Tools, stream, whether that's true or false, agentic true or false. Then I configure all of my different accounts based on, um, I've got a custom one in here. I probably just don't even want, this is not even here right now, so we'll delete that.
Hmm.
And yeah, so all the different ones that I've been testing out.
Got it.
And then I just log how long it takes, and then I turn on logging. The logging actually, it's actually not very useful anymore. They had it originally in there, and it actually doesn't tell you anything, so I don't even know why I have it on here. It makes a log in your documents folder, but it tells you almost nothing. So
Got it.
hopefully they're going to add it back. But let's look at the script steps. So we have the account name, which we know about, the model, we know about the user prompt, we know about agentic mode, and then it's putting it into the response, as you say. The tool calls for model is this is targeting. If you do pass in tools and the tools come back, well, then want to call a tool, that's here. And then let's see. This is all of them. Tool definition, stream parameters, response, save message history to, which is again, this is an interesting one. This is a dialogue unlike you've ever, this is the only place you'll see this dialogue where you set the variable where you want that messages to be stored and the count, and it will automatically truncate that for you.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah. So at the end of this, if we get above 20, this messages array, this variable will be set to the last 20. And then later on in the script step, I'm updating that with that value.
Okay.
And then
That
the other
makes
thing I'm
sense.
doing somewhere in here, trying to remember how I turn on. Maybe there's no way to turn it on or off. I thought there was a way to turn on or off whether I'm logging the tokens used. It's not,
I
is it a
I thought
parameter? I
that I
don't
thought that
think
was
it's a
like a get
parameter.
function, right? Wouldn't you have
There's a
to?
get function, but I just thought there might have been a way to turn it on and off. Apparently there isn't. So down here, I get the last step token used, and then I parse out the tokens, and I set those into the field. And then in my models table, I've written down um, how much. Oh, it looks like that didn't work. I wonder what's, huh? This was working before. Yeah, this one's working. See, I think there is a way to turn this on or off, but
Is it buried in like one of the other sub dialogues in the script step somewhere?
I don't know why it's not working with it's working with automatic. You see I get the number of tokens
Mm-hmm.
and the cost. Um Anthropic it's working. Um Odd. I'm not sure why it may have stopped. Um we can debug it, but the idea is that you can get some measurement of how much you're spending with those. And so that is let's see, what else is there to talk about in this script step?
What is
Um,
temperature?
Temperature is important. So temperature is how creative you want the model to be.
Okay, what does that actually mean?
It means how much how much hallucination do you want? How much inventiveness do you want?
Okay,
All right. So in different scenarios, you're going to want different amounts of inventiveness.
okay.
If you're trying to generate a story about the loudest FileMaker developer helicopter pilot in the world, you probably want to tweak that up a little higher, right?
Yes. Okay.
But if you want it to just be very tightly constrained and always return, basically just follow the rules and nothing else, you want to
Mm-hmm.
set it lower. Most temperatures, most models go between 0 and 2, with
Okay.
1 being the default. And some models, though, will go between 1 and 10. And that's just going to be based on the model. You have to look at the model and see what the documentation is. But I think you can, for most of the common models you're going to do, you're probably going to be good with with 0 to 2.
Okay. That makes sense. Uh, I would assume if you're okay, a quick question about the messages thing. Can I make it so that my message history is put into a rag? So if I
You
really
could,
want,
sure, yes, and that is a reasonable thing to do, because you may want to, if you and in fact, like, ChatGPT does this automatically. The ChatGPT client
mm-hmm,
has memories built in.
mm-hmm.
With Claude, you can actually add memory. You can add memory MCP servers to it, and they can do the same thing. And that's very useful, because then when you ask a question, it can know, like, hey, did I ask this question before? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what response did I get back, or that kind of thing. And so you can get that stuff back. Yeah.
Okay, cool. 'Cause that was the first thought I wanted. If you really wanted like all the message history for whatever reason, then you could.
Yes, and that is something that this idea of memory is, I think, going to be really interesting. And I can go on like, let me see. How brave do I want to be here? Um, so let me go to new chat. I can say, check my um, memory. What did I, what have I done today? Let's see how it does. Hope I haven't done anything like illegal on my computer.
Well, we'll quickly alt tab
Actually, I
and
think it's
pretend it
searching
never
the wrong
happened.
memory thing. Yeah, it's not searching the right memory. Yeah, this is old. I need to do searching calendar events. I've got a whole bunch of things on here. Let me see. Let me see. What is it? It's I've got all these tools in here. I think it's called, yeah, it's pieces. So let me go new chat, check pieces memory. Maybe ask a more specific question. How long was I in Gather today? So Gather is an app we use for collaboration. See if it can figure this out.
Got it.
So allow always. It can actually give me a summary of my day, like, because it's watching my monitor and it's checking. It actually is reading it based on multiple entries showing activity in Gather. Look at this, right?
Whew.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. It even tells me who I was hanging out with, and this is basically the our infrastructure team. I was in
Wow.
for 3 hours and 11 minutes.
That's kind of insane,
Isn't that
actually.
great? Right? So this is because I'm running an app on my computer that is
Mm-hmm.
basically monitoring what I'm up to. And it's running everything stored on my computer. There's no data going anywhere else. I've
Mm-hmm.
connected it to Claude, and so now I can chat with my memories. And I can go back and say, what did I do last Wednesday? And it'll give me a summary of my day.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's insane that it can
Yeah.
do that
So
for you.
memory is cool. And we all are going to have, I believe that before too long, Apple devices, I'm sure they're working on it, will just have memory.
That would that would track with what their direction they're going. So,
Yeah. Secure private memory. So basically, while as long as you're using an Apple device, or it's going to know what you've been up to, and you can ask it. How long did I spend in this, or what did I do last Wednesday? Or when was the last time I talked to Richard Carlton? It'll tell me.
uh, we have a question. Is there a
Yeah.
rule of thumb to calculate potential costs with the LLM, like in terms of token used?
So tokens. So that's a very good question. Every model is different in terms of its prices. So, um, what we've been looking at mostly is OpenAI prices model. I want the model price here, API pricing. So this is ChatGPT 4.1, and so we've been using Mini. We've been using these two.
Mm-hmm.
This is the heavier lifting one. So it's cost $2 per million tokens. A token is not a word; it's less than a word. Okay. And it's $2 per million. So maybe you could think, I don't know how many, let's see. How many words is 1 million? I'm asking Claude here. See what it says. How many words is 1 million tokens? It's going to tell me you can't do it perfectly. Roughly 75,000 words, right?
Whoo!
Okay. Roughly. So $2 for 75,000, 750,000 words, excuse me, 750,000 words. That's for the input. That's going in. And then for the output, it's 8. It's usually more for out than it is for in.
And that's like 2 or 3 Sanderson novels. That's a lot of writing. You'll be fine.
Well, Sanderson novels are pretty long, so maybe not Sanderson, but yeah. But it's a lot. And ChatGPT, but remember when you're chatting, you're sending larger and larger contexts, right?
Mm-hmm.
You may send like ChatGPT will also the model context. So let's see. Um, GPT 4.1 context size, context window. Tell me size. 4.1 does up to 1 million tokens. So you can shove quite a bit into your history and then, but remember, you might fetch 100 records or 200 records of database records too.
Mm-hmm.
All that's going to go into your context when you're doing a chat like this.
Got
So
it.
you will go through all this stuff. So, but if you're looking at what we were just seeing, so, and then if you look at 4.1 mini, it's roughly, it's 20% of that cost. And then if you want to go to nano, it's even cheaper, right? It's pretty cheap. Other ones are pretty expensive. Um, wow, 4.0 mini. Oh, that's right. 4.0 mini is cheaper. I forgot. But here, look at 0.1 or 0.3, 20. Right? So these are the big monster guys right here. These are the big OpenAI models.
Mm-hmm.
0.1 Pro, $150, right? 75 times more expensive than this one.
That's a very
Um,
expensive
yeah,
question.
$600 for output tokens if you use 0.1 Pro, right? So they can get expensive if you're using these very expensive models. Claude is typically more expensive. Sonnet,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, Claude AI API pricing
What kind of work would you even want a really expensive model for?
for lots of reasoning. So that not for a lot of what we're doing here because that's good for like planning and like debugging code or planning how to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I use it a lot. I use the reasoning, the more expensive models to be like, okay, here's what I want to do in code,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll tell it to come up with a um, with a very detailed plan for how we're going to implement this in TypeScript, for example. And I'll
Got it.
use and I'll say go step by step, plan everything. But and those are it's useful to use those those are the more expensive reasoning models.
Okay, that
So
makes sense.
so here's Claude Opus is 15 and 75 for the input and output. And I blew $300 in a day or in a couple days with Claude Opus programming because I wasn't paying attention. You don't need these reasoning models for a lot of these tasks. In fact, it's overkill. They think too much. They
Mm-hmm.
overthink. So it's true, they do. You want the smaller models when for a lot of the stuff that we're doing here, when we want to like decide what tool call to use, for example. You want to do a smaller model. So yeah, so Claude Sonnet's pretty good for most things. It's really good. And it's still more expensive than 4.1, but cheaper than Opus 4. So that's pricing. What else we got?
Auto cache in the new models. Does it lower costs since the messages sent back would be cached?
Yes, that is correct. So if you look on, they have these cached inputs. So if you do the same um, exact same thing more than once, it'll cache it. So, and there's times when uh so your system prompt, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you may want to keep that. So sometimes people will put in the time and date in the system prompt. The problem is that is going to change every time. And so every system prompt will cost the full tokens every time. So in your system prompt, which is in FileMaker terms, with OpenAI, this is true. With the other ones, it's not yet true, but the system prompt is instructions. So you would want to not include in your instructions things that will change every time you start something up because it won't be able to cache it and it
Got
will cost you the full amount every time.
it. That makes sense. Okay.
There's also batching. You can do things like asynchronously and batching that get some of these prices down. But so here's like training. Somebody talking about training earlier. Look at there's your training. O4 mini or GPT 41 mini training is 25 bucks an hour. So it gets expensive to train these models.
Mm-hmm.
So
You'd have to have a very specific reason that you wanted it.
yeah,
Kalman had something interesting earlier, which I'll read now because it's relevant. Rick Kalman, quick rule of thumb, RAG versus fine tuning. The question you want to ask is the knowledge dynamic and document based? Then use RAG. Is the task behavior based or style based? Used fine tuning.
there you go.
And do I want to custom tone plus real time data? Then you need a hybrid between the two.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense.
Uh,
Good. Thanks, Rick.
yes, he's been a gem. He's been watching all these streams. I'm sure it takes up a lot of his very important time, so it's cool having him around. We do have a question from earlier, which I did not ask because it was a little off topic, but since we're in our ending chunk of time, I'm gonna snag it at you. Uh, could you show another prompt? Could you show another example of prompt template script step, please, to use in find request? So
Throw another. Oh,
let me
this
reread.
be like what I showed the other day, or like something totally different. What do they
Uh,
want there? I don't know.
I think they said another example, so I think
I'm not.
different.
Um, I not sure I get that.
If they want an example of a prompt template script step
So
to
this is
use for the
configure
find
prompt template for
request.
perform fine with natural language.
Yes.
This is going to be fairly stable. This isn't going to change very much because once you get one that's working, that's working, you're not going to change it.
Yeah, I
This is
mean,
basically it. So not quite sure what the question is getting
yeah.
at.
The only thing I could think to add of is maybe the operators for FileMaker
Oh,
specifically.
yes. So what I would do to try to do that, I don't know exactly, but let's copy this out. I don't know, let's grab this whole thing here.
I can try to go find the little article that is all the operators for find requests.
What I would do to do that, this is how I would do it. I would go to
Mm-hmm.
my Claude. I would say, here is a system prompt for generating a FileMaker data API request. Improve it. Oh, and but I have to say Wait, it didn't give me. Oh, right. Yeah. Improve it. Improve this so it will work better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a string here and say field schema. Improve it so it'll work, and then I'll got to give it a little bit more. So we're going to break this up just so I'm very clear what is the prompt. Whoops. Whoops. Field, this string will be replaced with the field schema for the request. At runtime. Improve it so it'll work better and yeah. Make sure your improvements will actually help.
I like that you
Now,
have to add that as a tagline.
I just find it, I think it's useful to do. Now, in this
Mm-hmm.
case, I might choose Opus because I wanted to reason and think about this pretty good. So I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
use Opus, and then we'll just we'll send it, see what it says. Oh, I didn't tell it the user question. I left this string out, which is a problem. Yeah, it's doing it.
It's impressive to watch it go, honestly.
I wanted to write it, so it didn't write it in the proper tech. Well, no, actually, I think this will work. So this wrote it in Markdown, which I think will work fine.
Mm-hmm.
So then you go like this, copy, and we can't paste it in there because that won't work. So we go insert, because that's
Oh,
a
right.
calc.
Yes.
So we got to go here and say insert text, better prompt. Boom. Now, in theory, this could be better. You do have to test this. My guess is it's probably a little better, but I don't know how much better. Um, I don't know how we could test it quickly to prove whether it's better or not.
You
We
could
don't
try
really have
to.
any. I could do like maybe on invoices, I could do find invoices with like a totaling over
Mm-hmm.
invoices uh, totaling 10K or more. Let's do 100K. Let's leave the spelling error in there.
People are going to do that all the time.
So it looks like it worked.
Yeah.
So if we go back to, we show that. So it put the prompts in. There
It
you go.
actually put the operators in.
Yeah.
Nice.
So take home here is use Claude or ChatGPT or Google Gemini to write your system prompts. They'll do a better job for you.
That's awesome,
And
actually.
if we look at this, it'll tell us like why we think it's better. Here are the key improvements: clear structure, enhanced search operators, right? And the good news is that the FileMaker data API is many years old. So
Mm-hmm.
even though this model was actually, I don't know when Opus 4 was cut off, but probably a year ago or more. It was, so it's only not going to have any of the latest documentation up, but it would have older stuff. So, and since our execute, it basically works off the data API query, we've got all that knowledge baked into the model. So it just wrote us a nice prompt. Pretty
That's
cool,
really
huh?
cool. That's extremely cool. That's awesome.
So use AI to learn how to use AI. recursive.
Someone clarifying, do you need to add the variable from the insert text into the next script step?
Oh gosh, I didn't do that and it did it. That's a good catch. It worked anyway. So yeah, so somehow it figured it out. So the model's pretty smart. Because you're right, I did not add better prompt in there. So it was still pretty good. So I don't know. Like,
It was interesting because it was struggling with operators yesterday.
yeah. Let's do
What if you asked it for a range?
yeah, let's try that. Find invoices that total between $250,000 and $500,000. This, by the way, is Super Whisper, which I
Hmm.
like for just voice to text. It's really good. I didn't have my cursor in there, so it didn't automatically put it in, but normally it would. So let's
Got
see
it.
what it does with that. I don't think it did, unless I missed something.
Is it just not registering that?
Oh, it looks like it didn't do it. Let's see. What it doesn't appear to be behaving the way I would have expected. Is it running the script?
I'm about to say, it doesn't even look like the script is firing.
There it goes. So I wasn't tabbing out of the field, apparently. No, it doesn't look like it's working. So my prompt may have made things worse.
Interesting.
But actually, this is a fairly, let's see. Let's just do find invoices that total over 1 million. I can't tell if the script is running or not. No, it's actually gotten worse. What did I do? Did I do something else wrong in the script? Better prompt. Interesting.
Huh.
So feels like that should work pretty well.
It's
Prompt
going
is
off.
PNLF, prompt is PNLF. So one thing we can do is just it doesn't look like maybe it's erroring. Let's see if it's erroring. So yeah, you know what, it is erroring because it's not even clearing the field. So
What
this
does
is
it mean?
erroring right here. So let's see. Let's see what the error is. Field is missing, so that's why we missed something here. Let's check it out. What do we miss? This is what I mean. It's difficult. These script steps are a little difficult to figure out what's going wrong and when. So
Mm-hmm.
let me see. Check me, people out there. We've set our better prompt. We're configuring our prompt. Blah, blah, blah. The prompt is this guy. That is correct. We have
Set variable user prompt value CRM system search prompt. Is it attached to the correct field?
better prompt is right. Better prompt is right.
Mm-hmm.
But so it's in here. Something is missing here.
Get
Uh,
found set.
get found set. Parameters shouldn't need anything. Um, prompt template name, PNLF, user prompt. What's missing? Parameters. It's checked. Maybe if I uncheck it, did I check it by mistake? Nope, we're missing something. Weird. What are we missing?
It's gonna be floating right in front of our faces, looking at.
Perform. OpenAI is configured. Model is correct. Prompt. Oh, I deleted user prompt.
Oh, like I said, it's gonna be floating right in front of our
Yeah.
faces. Well, no, but there's a set variable user prompt
Where?
too,
Oh,
right?
there it is. It's right there. It's right there. Okay, this is weird.
Huh. Oh, this is why. Find invoices that total over 1 million. User prompt.
Field is
It was
missing.
missing.
What is missing?
We have the insert text, and then configures the prompt template. And then we set.
Let's just change it to a get the request and see.
Mm-hmm.
So that worked. Got the request perfectly fine.
Okay.
So we switch it back to found set, which template name PNLF. I can put in parameters as an empty parameters. Maybe that'll do it. That's something is not making sense with this script here. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm going to
Yeah,
delete
because it was working just fine before you did the insert text, right? So.
before I did. Yeah. Let's get rid of the prompt template. Let's let it use the default.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, we don't even need to put anything in there.
Is the field that is trying to search not on the layout? Question mark.
Ah, field is missing. That could be.
That was from Michael Wallace.
Requested template was not found. I didn't use the template. Okay. 890.
Unknown.
I think that might be it. I think that was the answer. Except it worked before when it wasn't on the layout. Um,
And then someone suggested we try global variables. That would make
global
it.
variables will not make a difference. That worked. That worked. Okay,
Why?
so I got rid of the prompt template and it worked.
Okay.
Must be something with our better prompt is got to be incorrect. So question. Ah, I did not replace this. I did not replace this.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no fields. The field schema is not getting added to the prompt.
Oh, so it can't find any fields to begin
Yes.
with. Okay.
So what we have to do is, so that's it. That's going to be our answer. Let's get all this back together here. So this is, we don't need parameters, but we do need prompt template, and it's PNLF.
LF. Yep.
And then we need a set variable here that does better prompt. Substitute. Better prompt. I think it was.
It was double squigglies. Or
Yeah, so right, I got to do this and then double this and then double those field schema.
mm-hmm.
fields on layout. That look right?
It looks correct. Too many parameters. Why?
I forgot the trailing semicolon
Oh,
there. That's an issue. Okay. Now let's do our big nasty one we've never done before and see if we can get it to work. Find all of the invoices between 750,000 and $850,000. Nope. You bum.
this is educational though.
Maybe I didn't substitute. Let's check our prompt. Nope. Somehow we didn't get that substitute to work. Oh, we
Oh,
haven't run
because
it yet. We haven't run it yet. That's a problem.
it needs to
It's in
be
the wrong
above,
spot.
right? Yeah, okay.
Come on, guys out there. What I mean, we got
I'm
this
sorry.
giant Discord channel.
I should have caught that. That's my bad. I'll take the blame for
Nobody out
that
there
one.
helping me out.
Like I said, this is educational. It's all the things that we're going to go through when we do this.
Yes, you will. This kind of stuff. All right, run. Here's our script step. Watch our found set.
Okay. And then
Check better prompt. See if it's in there. It's in there.
There we go.
Cross your fingers.
I'm crossing them.
43.
And it nails it. Sticks the landing.
Sticks the landing. Command R. There it is.
Nicely done.
Okay. I think that's probably enough for today. Any more
I
questions?
think it
can
is.
answer?
I don't see any. Mostly people were trying to help us figure out with the various.
That's what it's like. Those script steps are like the error message was field missing, which I was like, that should have been my clue, because normally when it's the script step that's actually missing on one of those little check boxes, it's actually going to give you a set error. It's going to give you an error 5. The field, I mean, unless it's targeting a specific field, like the response when you're streaming into that, right? You'll get a missing field. So the thing that I kept missing was that it was actually saying missing field. It didn't have any fields. Like, it just didn't know what it was. It probably was inventing some query that didn't make any sense, and it just was.
I would have loved to see the response and the imaginary field that was generating.
So it was trying to create the find request, but the fields, it had no context to write the right request, so it was giving us field missing. That wouldn't have been my first guess, but that's the thing. You got to be very careful with those script steps. All of them are just like, what? Okay, there's an error, but what is it? Which thing did I not do right is a challenge. It was the perform find that was giving us an error, but it was actually the prompt, the configure prompt, that was configured improperly because we didn't have our insert text. We didn't do a substitute on that. So it was like 2 script steps above it. That was really the problem. Challenging to figure out, but that's how it is. That's how these things work.
That makes sense. I learned a lot watching you do that. Frankly, I think probably a lot of people here learned a lot watching you do that because, well, prompt engineering is its own thing. And so learning where you would have to go look on a prompt to realize where would I make a mistake, that helps a lot.
Yep. So, yeah.
With that being said,
is there anybody still there?
Yes, actually. We have quite a few people still here.
We didn't lose everybody?
No. I mean, I might have driven off a couple with my laughter. I got a comment on like, oh, sorry. I hate to say it. One of the Carltons is running the stream. We both laugh really loud. I'm very sorry. It's just the way it's going to be. Hey, it means that you have fun. FileMaker's fun. This entire experience is fun. So, all right. Thank you very much, Todd. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I hope you'll have a lovely day, and then we're going to run the new closer that got made. So it'll be fun.
All right. Hopefully I'm in this one longer.